Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining in. I have Sandy here. She is with Mālama Puʻuloa. We've been working together for a few years now, and she's an awesome resource. She's going to talk to you folks a little bit today. We're kind of going through service learning and you have the marine debris part too, but with service learning, some of your opportunities that you can do in person are with this organization, Mālama Puʻuloa, and it's in most of your backyards. Most of you are living in Ewa on the west side of a plain maybe, and are surrounded or can see Puʻuloa. And so Sandy's going to talk to you a little bit about that opportunity, what they're doing there, why it's important, and just be thinking about how this can relate to what you're learning about in this class. Maybe it's related to what you feel your kuleana is or not. But if you have, okay, so can the rest of you guys hear me? Sandy can hear me, I think. So I think we're doing okay.
I can
okay,
hear. I'm gonna just open the
if
chat.
any of you have any questions or anything, you can always feel free to put them in the chat, but Sandy's definitely going to be asking you guys questions and trying to be interactive with you. So please do respond. You can either put it in the chat or unmute yourself, but I'll give it up to Sandy and let her introduce herself a little bit further, but please give her your undivided attention.
Oh, mahalo nui. And I'm in the jet path, and there comes one now. And I've heard I should have done the earphone thing, but I'll tell you right now, I'm a 61-year-old auntie, and I can't get my beats to talk to my Mac. So some of you need to come to my house and help me. But anyway, I hope that the jets don't interrupt. I also want to see all your faces, so that your faces get me out of bed in the morning, and you can turn off those video cameras later. But Basilio, Kalamai, Trinity, oh my gosh, yay. I would love to see your faces, and that helps. So aloha mai kako, Auntie Sandy Ward here. And the more of you that can zoom in with your faces, the more better. And so I don't like to talk long without visuals. So this is not a listening, it's gonna be very interactive, and aloha, I mean it to be very visual. So what I'm gonna do is, Kelly, you know what, I forgot to check. Am I able to share screen?
You should be able to share, yeah.
Yay. Oh gosh, you guys, I think I covered up my messy desktop, but can you folks see my slide? Can somebody give me some thumbs up?
Got it.
Yes. Okay. The other thing I want to do before we dive in and say, who the heck are you and what you doing and how you doing it? Those are all super good questions. I want to ground us in the oli that I use all the time that celebrates where we all are, or where we live close to. So you are in the Honouliuli Ahupua'a of the Moku of Ewa, in Hawaiian lands and Hawaiian waters, which you see here. And Pu'u Zablan, a student from UH West Oahu, composed this amazing mele that celebrates this place. And in it, you will hear kapapapuhi. And kapapapuhi and the local ia, the fish ponds there, are pictured here. So we literally are in your backyard. And I just want to open with his mele so that we all just take a moment to ground ourselves in how lucky we are to be in this place. And I'm lucky enough to have a recording here, but I need your thumbs up to make sure that you're hearing it. So please join me in celebrating where we live or go to school. In my case, where we work. In the chat, I'd love to have you share in one word how you felt listening to that Oli. Kelly, can you read some of those words to help me out?
Yep. No one has put anything in the chat yet. Come on, guys. Connected. Trinity says connected, inspired. Noah. Powerful. Fritzy.
I will say, because I can't see everyone's faces yet, I want to ask too, who of you, and I'm going to put it so I can see more of you now on my screen. You can never assume by someone's last name, but are there any in your group who were born and raised in the areas mentioned in the Honouliuli Ahupua'a? So can you put a thumbs up if you were born and raised in these lands? So you could do the reaction or you can do it for real, okay? How many of you were born and raised on Oahu? So they can meet, yep. And how many of you are from somewhere else? Because I definitely am. So how many of you, you're like, wait, I just moved here and wait, what did that guy say? And I know that feeling of, you know, something powerful is being spoken, but you don't know what it is. So I just want to say that I honor each one of you, your ancestors, your journey that brought us here in this little Zoom verse. And I hope that I get to meet you on the shores of Kapapapuhi soon. So Kalamai, I'm going to shrink that. And I have to shrink you guys' faces. There you go. So I am the executive director of Hui O Ho'ohonua. We're a nonprofit that was formed just at the end of 2015. And I want to say, if no one's ever told you that you can start a nonprofit, you can, like tomorrow. It wasn't easy, but we did it. And we serve the community through our Mālama Puʻuloa, or our Care for Pearl Harbor program. And throughout this, I do use Olela Hawaii to the extent of my growing Manini abilities, but I do honor the place name. So you will hear me say Puʻuloa rather than Pearl Harbor throughout this presentation. And you're looking in this picture, this is where I get to go to work when I'm not at the computer, Zooming or writing grants. This is the shores of Puʻuloa, looking out at what some people call West Loch, but we know has a much older name, Ka'ihu'opala'ai. And so on this map, you'll see up top, the Ewamoku are all the lands whose waters feed into Puʻuloa. You see where your college is located and where many of us live, but the Ewamoku is much larger than Ewa Beach, where I live and where I'm sitting right now. The other thing you'll notice is that this is a collection of many ahupua'a, or ridge to reef land divisions, with traditional names that start with Vai, W-A-I, because this is the largest collection of freshwater on Oahu. So if you go to school here, if you're living here, or if you're our neighbor, I ask you to think about honoring Ewa and Puʻuloa. The other thing I will tell you right off the bat is that although I've lived and worked on Oahu for half my life, I'm 61. I'm a retired school teacher, science teacher at Mililani High School. My ancestors are Scottish and Irish. I was so blessed to be raised in Oregon. And I will tell you that the second day I was teaching school at Mililani High School in 1994, a student raised his hand, and let's see, Kelly, I'll tell him the PG version. Basically said, "Miss, you don't know what you're talking about." And bless that kid, that was Keone, and I now know him and his 3 kids and his wife. He was right, because I acknowledge that being raised on the mainland, we're taught very little that is accurate about this place. So even though I'm 61, even though I run a nonprofit, even though I was a teacher, I want to acknowledge that in this place, I am still a haumana. I am still learning. And I am learning from the ancestral wisdom of the Hawaiian people that has been very generously and very patiently shared with someone who is a slow learner. So if you are new to Oahu, I encourage you to not give up, not get overwhelmed, and to keep learning. Because why I do this is looking at my students, they deserve swimmable, fishable, drinkable waters. And so do all the people of Oahu. So you'll see me pictured with my students in the slide, and you'll see me with mud on my face, which is how I usually look when you meet me in the field. And I want to say this is a picture of a pretty typical workday. This was actually a small one. And all of the invasive mangrove behind us in that photo, it's gone. So you're going to hear me talk about the power of community-led change. Hui Honua is a community-based nonprofit started by those who live and work in Ewa. And I guess if you had to describe us in a nutshell, it's a community stewardship networking organization, but basically we got asked into being. We got asked by community members and by my own students and by Uncle Emmett Aululi on a trip to Koho'olawe to start working in our own backyard and to clean up what was here. The lands, the water, and the people of the Ewamoku have experienced a lot of trauma, and that includes the Red Hill water contamination crisis, which affected the waters where I live, down at what some people call Iroquois Point, but I call Keahi Point. So again, what gives me hope every day is it can be very dark. And in this journey, I will tell you that there's a level of injustice that hits you in the gut. And I don't even have ancestral ties to this land, but there's also joy and hope. And I hope that this presentation gives you a feeling of joy and hope and maybe a way to connect. And before we go any further, I acknowledge all of you that are going through your college journey at UH West Oahu. The fact that that university exists and has been built in the time that I've lived here, that an amazing friend and cultural advisor, Manu Meyer, is there. Some of you have connected to her, and that you have professors like Kelly who understands, like, okay, she's newer to Hawaii and she puts herself in a space of of humility, so she knows when to ask people in. And I taught biology at the high school level for years, and sometimes it's hard to make biology sexy. So I hope that one of the things we do today is to give you an idea of why your knowledge, your growing knowledge of biology might help you to Mālama Puʻuloa and to restore this place. So I just want to say that when I say hui, a hui, as I have been taught, is a group of people united in purpose. And I know right now you're like, I am a college student and I am united in purpose to finish this class and graduate and get a job. And yes. So you are already, just by being here today, you have become a part of our hui. UH West Oahu, Dr. Manu Meyer, and so many others are a part of our network. And I will say that Kanaka Oiwi are on top for a reason. And I will say that Senator Schatz and Congressman Case were very gracious about that, because that's who we learn from the most. We are members of Hui Mālama Loko'ia, a group of fish pond practitioners, and Ewa Aina stewards that operate around the entire moku, and we learn from them. The other thing is that we have mentors around the island who have been doing restoration for much longer than us. But yes, our elected officials and business organizations are part of our network, are part of our hui, as are many conservation professionals. And the yellow, what I consider the backbone, are all the schools. It's the community. and you sprinkle the special sauce of some brilliant scientists, and we have an amazing and evolving hui. So I do want to say that this hui can serve you. I have done many introductions and in-person introductions. So if these folks interest you in terms of your career pathway, our hui serves you. And so I'll make sure that you know how to email me before this presentation is over. And this visual is on our website because there's a lot in a little, and some of you, if you're on your phone, it's probably font 0.2. So it's a kako thing that we do. And people who have asked, like, what exactly is that you do? Well, we are developing a transformational, holistic, and sustainable approach to biocultural restoration of Puʻuloa. That's a mouthful. But basically, if you look at this diagram, you tell me what part of that diagram would you ignore if you were going to restore an area? And honestly, we're learning about others, like some of our most vulnerable folks, those that are unhoused. It's not an area of focus, but we have to holistically address everything. It doesn't say you're going to fix the Red Hill water contamination crisis, but clean waters is a part of what we do. So these are aspects of what we focus on in trying to develop a holistic approach. We don't just cut invasive mangrove and plant native plants, although such a beautiful part of restoration. We don't just have community work days, it's holistic. So I'm not going to read the bullets on the right-hand side of this, but I will say that it's working to provide food and water security for the entire island. And to be pono about when we do it. To change the way things are done, including collaborating with the Navy to get them to contribute in ways that they have not. So how the heck are we going to do all that? How are we going to restore Puʻuloa to its historical abundance? A place that fed tens of thousands, a place that a revered kupuna, John Papa'i'i, said, look to Ewa in times of famine. Folks, this is the breadbasket of Oahu. So how do we do this? Well, we're doing it right now. We build relationships because you move at the speed of trust. You move if you do what you say you're going to do, if you show up when you say you're going to show up, and if you build a friendship and a relationship one person at a time, that's known as pilina. And you know that from weaving together, the cordage is much stronger than a single strand. So we're both leaders in developing networks. The Puʻuloa Strategic Partnership was because we're going crazy, because some of these conservation agencies who work like where you could throw a rock from one office to the next or one site to the next, they hadn't sat down and talked to each other. So it's the school teacher and me that wanted to put them in a cooperative learning group. And so that's basically what the Puʻuloa Strategic Partnership is. Sitting people down and saying, let's break those silos and let's do this together. And that Puʻuloa Strategic Partnership just started in 2019, and we've collaboratively brought in over $2 million of funding on multiple grants and multiple projects. And that's not nothing. That's the power of pilina. The other thing that is so important is that we learn as participants, and I mean the toddlers of the bunch. So when you look at this group gathering in front of that beautiful mural that was painted to express all the mo'olelo of this area by the artist Kupihea, that's right at UH West Oahu. And those are Ewa Aina practitioners from across the moku. And in that company, we just don't say a lot. We just shut up and listen and learn, and we go to other people's sites and we dig in their mud and we pull their weeds. But that pilina that we build with them is vital to what we do. And within that gathering are many of our cultural advisors. And then to me, because I'm a school teacher, the Pilina is building it, starting, like we have volunteers come with babies strapped to their chest and their back, and little toddlers walking around working with us. But this picture on the right was pre-COVID, but that is 300 middle school kids led by 30 high school students who really were at the beginning of starting the restoration at our site. 8th graders were the first ones to clear mangrove. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be a congressperson. You just have to be willing to learn and show up and pick up a saw and get to know people. So Pilina is #1 strategy. So the other strategy is, how would you do this? I would say, I just want to go back to one thing. In the chat, I want to know, are you related to any place of restoration or cultural practice in the Ewa Moku that you see pictured on this map? Are you do you dance hula with the halau here? Do you weave? Do you come fish with your families? And then Kelly, I would appreciate it if you would read some of those. What Pilina do you have to this place? And I will sadly say its nickname. This park is across from Queens West, and it was known for generations as Chocolate Beach, because that's what the waters look like offshore, but not today. Kapapapuhi Point Park, West Loch Community Shoreline Park, the West Loch Golf Course. That's where, what's your Pilina to this place? Kelly, can you read a few? And if they say no more, that's okay.
No more yet. And if
And
you,
I'll show.
oh, sorry.
Well, with my cursor, can you guys see me circling where we work at here? But any of these, so this is Ewa Beach, Waipahu, Makakilo, Kapolei's over here, Pearl City, Aiea, Ford Island, Mokumiumi, the soccer park. Did you play soccer there? Do you have any Pilina or connection to this place? Think about that for a sec. When you have that and you're willing to share it, could you put it in the chat, please?
Someone says YPO Soccer Complex.
There you go. You have Pilina with place. Your college, if all else fails.
Mm-hmm. We actually have quite a few students, it looks like, that don't live in this area. But you probably have done things here, like go to school.
Well, Queens West, have you gone to the, I didn't know anything. I didn't know this park existed 7 years ago. I just went to Queens West to get my blood test and get some MRIs. I honestly drove by here and I was either going Highway in, Queens West, or Zippy's, or White Plains. You know, I just saw this particular access and I just thought, oh, it's just houses. There's a 39-acre shoreline park here that's public lands. So the other thing I will say is, if you are on the island of Oahu, if you are from the Waianae coast, the mullet from this place, the anai, migrate. This is a nursery from some of the fish that you catch and feed your families. The other thing I'll say about folks from the Waianae coast is that you are farther ahead in your restoration and your community building than the Moku of Ewa is. And we look to many like Ma'o Farms, Ka'ala Farms, In Peace. We look to you, and we look wherever you live on this island. If you're from Kalihi Valley, if you're from Ko'olapoko, we look to you. So you might not think you have Pilina to this place, but let's work on that. I'll get you to come, and you'll be able to build Pilina with this place in a few hours. Any other ones show up, Kelly, besides soccer?
Yeah, someone went to Pearl City High School. Basilio used to live in Pearl City Peninsula, military housing. couple people said they're living in Waianae. So yeah, couple things.
So we worked with Pearl City High School and Pearl Highlands Intermediate. We still do. And the #2 group outside of school kids that come to volunteer are military volunteers in their ohana. So we do honor our military folks as you're part of the community. And we can debate militarization for hours, but I know that you are here, and I know that you, in many, your military folks are working to protect us and have that sincerity. And I honor the volunteer efforts that have been made. In fact, my co-founder is a 4-time Navy combat vet who lives right on the edge of the park. But here's the other thing that we talked about. If you, in your career, people talk a lot. They talk a good game. Oh my gosh, this is outdated. Kalamai, I'm gonna stop right now because I can't stand to see this number because it's now this and this. Kalamai, but those people deserve to be honored. So the other thing is just do the work. Put your head down and paddle. So hana is not just work, but it's that which feeds the soul, which is what I was taught. So you show up and you volunteer and you get to know people and you just do the work. Even if you get hired somewhere as a lower level, entry level job, just head down and do the work. And that helps you grow. So we have engaged over 7,000 volunteers in the last 3 years and now cleared 7 acres of wetland, shoreline, and Hawaiian fish ponds. So in this 39-acre park, it was a mess. Opala, rubbish up to my hips. Most of what you see in this picture on the right is invasive mangrove. The green fringe that you see from the sky is invasive mangrove. And yet you start to see blobs of water. In 1964, there was no mangrove and the fish ponds were still functional. In the decades before that, even when there was sugarcane growing everywhere in this area, the fish ponds were still functional. So we have, by just showing up and working, we've shown what community can do. People will say, well, did you have an excavator? And I'll be like, nope, this was the excavator right here. And it started with 8th graders and hand saws. So, one strategy is just, if people don't think you can do it, just show up and work hard, get her done. And what we've done is we know that when we're trying to reach out and build pilina with someone that's like, who are you now? What are you doing? Where are you? We're just like, oh, well, just come. Why don't you just come for a site visit? And literally their jaw hits the aina because of what 7,000 community members have done. And yes, folks from Nanakuli and Waianae and Kona and Ko'olaupoko and around the world have been here doing that work. Kalamai, I might have to close the door real quick. I'm very excited to say that my big sister is visiting from the mainland. Kalamai.
I keep expecting my puppy to come in here, but she is sick of me right now. So she's just hanging out under my bed.
Hey, big people have big sisters, and boy, she's scolding me about a lot of things. So it's good humility to have your big sister around. The other important strategy you folks are doing right now, and I put it front and center at the beginning of this presentation. Always learn. And if you know something exciting, it's not arrogance to share it. In our case, it's a profound gesture of respect to share the Hawaiian place names and the mo'olelo. Once we have said, is it okay? Are we sharing it accurately? And I'm a teacher. So this work started. I brought my students from Mililani High School there. I worked with kids from Waipahu, Campbell, Pearl City, Kapolei, Aiea, and all of the little feeder schools that go to them. But we I will say I could live to be 161 and I will still not scratch the surface of the Ike Kupuna and the Mo'olelo, the ancestral wisdom of the generations of Hawaiians who created unparalleled food abundance with brilliantly engineered food systems and resource management techniques, who understood the creatures that lived here, revered them, cared for them, and cared for each other. So if you are new to Hawaii, or even relatively new, because 31 years is still relatively new in some books, you will enrich your life, you will enrich your ohana by learning. And if you're from another moku or another ahupua'a, when you go into a place, the amazing mo'olelo that you can uncover. For me to learn that these waters were home to Ka'ahupahau, the guardian shark, to Kanikua'ana, the mo'o who brought the oysters from Tahiti, from the Anai Holo, the traveling mullet that migrate from these waters. And these are not stories and myths. This is a way of passing on wisdom. So if you are not tapping into that, you're missing out on the good stuff. And there's even things on our website that can help at the entry level. But for those of you who have generational ties here, just try ask Uncle, try ask your tutu, because there's a lot of good stuff that's not in any books or in any written form. So then I get excited to teach people. And I'm involved with the Ewa Aina Education Network that Kamehameha Schools supported. I work with over 16 schools, LCC, and UH West Oahu. And every time I meet students, I'm still learning. We also mentor interns, and we have mentored students in their capstone projects. So if you folks get in your journey through UH West Oahu, or if you're interested in an internship, the internships that we'll be offering this summer are with the Office of Indigenous Innovation, which is a UH program that is an umbrella over all campuses. So they will be offered to undergraduates at UH West Oahu. I can't tell you more because we're literally still designing it, including the financial package that goes with it. These are not work for free. We honor your skills and your time. And the other thing that's really cool is that our native revegetation program is run entirely through LCC and local public schools. We would love to have you guys growing plants for us. So sometimes just grow a little bit of a kuli at your kitchen table, and that's a way to start. So build pilina, do the work, be humble enough to know what you don't know, which in my case is a lot. And when you get excited about something, share it. So I'm gonna ask you right now, just from what you've heard, and if you just go blank, I'm okay with that. I'll take that. What is something that you've learned right now in 10 minutes about Ewa and about Puʻuloa that you would be excited to share? And if nothing yet, I got work to do in the next 15 minutes. Could you guys please put that in the chat? And if you never turn on your video the whole time, I would love to see your faces.
Shy.
Got any takers yet, Kaylee? Or Kelly? Oh, sorry, Kaylee. I've never called you Kaylee. Kalamai.
It's okay. No, not yet. You guys have to have learned something from Auntie today, because I know, at least for me, the first time I was hearing all of this, it was something that I was kind of unaware of that was happening right close to the school in a lot of people's backyard. I didn't know that that park existed. I didn't know this work was going on. I didn't know all these people were working together on it.
I took my students as far as Kaho'olawe to find sites of restoration, and I didn't know that there was some in our backyard. I took them to local He'eia, up to the forests of Pohole, And I did not know the Hawaiian name for Pearl Harbor was actually Kiawalau o Puʻuloa or Puʻuloa. So if nothing else, just work. The community is here working in your backyard, and I can't wait to show you what we're uncovering. And by the way, the top is the Hui Mālama Local Ia group in the last gathering pre-COVID. And in this group below, that's the Hawaii Tech Academy, and all the mangrove behind them is now gone. Okay, so I got work to do. Kelly, we didn't get nothing really exciting in the chat yet.
We do have a few things. So learned about how strong, oh, sorry, Cecilia, you can go.
Yeah, I can say that I knew that there were efforts going along to maintain fish ponds on the windward side. I'm glad to hear that there's efforts being done over here at the one here. I was actually, I worked at a company before that taught me how to be a loan officer, called Align Mortgage. And I know they came out and they did a few things on the end of a few weekends out of the past 6 months or so. So I'm just glad that, you know, it's spreading and it's growing, because I remember going to that park and was surprised that it was there. But yeah, it reminds me of efforts going on back home in Brooklyn, like where they're cleaning up beaches and shoreline. So, but this one actually serves a better purpose. So,
Did you say Brooklyn?
Yeah, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York.
My sister lived there for a long time, and I will say that the Billion Oyster Project in the Hudson River is something that the Hokulea brought home to us after the Mālama Honua voyage.
Yep.
So we learn from people all over the world. Mahalo for sharing that.
Yep.
Anyone else want to pop in right now? Because you've listened to my voice for a minute. You want to break?
We do have some in the chat, and if anyone wants to talk over me, you're welcome to. But I learned about the strong community our culture continues to grow and how they all take part in restoring our Puʻuloa. The park and the fish ponds, I don't come to the area all too often, so I was pretty unaware of that these things were there. Unaware of how people were involved and how close it was to everyone. Didn't know if 7,000 volunteers were engaged in that program. A lot of people saying they weren't aware of how big the program was and that they thought it was a much smaller community, and that there's fish ponds and hardworking people that have the ability to feed 1 million people. A lot of surprise there.
Well, we can't feed 1 million people right now, but the Hawaiians could. So it's that idea of learning from those that came before you. And if you're in Brooklyn, if you're in Oregon, if you're in Scotland, there were people there who survived all kinds of disasters and all kinds of changes in the weather and climate, and their resiliency strategies are important. So all I'll say about Mālama Puʻuloa, or restoring this place to abundance, is game on, fully charged. And this is throughout a pandemic. People kept coming. Oh, there's a jet. They kept coming the whole time. And sometimes it would be one at a time. Remember, if you were here in the pandemic, only one person could go at the park at a time. And I remember I was pulling baby mangrove from the shoreline, and one of my students that I'd worked with was about 50 feet away from me, and we were just by ourselves doing our thing. But I will say we're making a positive difference. And again, I'm not going to update this, but I will say what are the updates on this. 21 more acres of restoration have been funded. Our partnerships are growing all the time, and right now include the Coral Reef Alliance, with restoration experience from around Hawaii and actually around the Pacific. And what's cool to me, the sign that makes me most excited is when the kupuna, the elders, are hopeful. And this is Uncle Shad Kane. And this is an excerpt from an essay that he wrote. So the first part of the essay is very sad. It's this was here and now it's gone. This was here and now it's gone. So in his essay, he said, the first part, there was black waters and now blue. And this is an English translation of his beautifully written essay in Olelo, Hawaii. But look at that line, where once there was no life, chocolate beach, covered fish ponds, stinky waters, now there's hope. So that's how we know sometimes we're going in the right direction. Or when a former student comes back and is now your assistant executive director. Yay, that just happened this month. So I want to just say there's growing points of hope for Puʻuloa throughout the Moku, and your school is one of those stars. And I did make this for high school kids, so, you know, colorful stars. It's not as sophisticated as some GIS maps, but this represents schools, stewards, conservation agencies. There is a lay of hope spots and practitioners around the entire Awamoku. We're not the only game in town, we are one. And so HOH is our nickname for Hui o Ho'ohonua, a group of people united to make things better. And that's where we're located. So literally, instead of turning into Queens West, right off of the H1, right off of Fort Weaver, go the other way. Because one of the things is, we've got a ton of good places to eat around there, but just walking the shoreline or come with your ohana and just, you know, have a picnic. It's a very relaxing, restorative place. It's not all just about work and restoration, and it's public lands and it's right there. Many of you, I will just challenge you not to drive by. And this feature is on our website. And if you click on any of these stars that are Aina sites, if you would like to visit those that are restoring places around Ewa, many of those stars are connected to their website, so you can connect to other work days and other points of hope in the Ewa Moku. So I want to pause here and let you hear from a Hawaiian perspective what Ewa is all about in 2.5 minutes. So if you are sidetracked or you're looking at something else on your screen, I understand. You've been listening to some lady talk for a while, but I'm going to ask you to really zoom in right now, because this is what Ewa is all about. You're okay?
Hello, Puʻuloa, hewalau no Ewa, hewalau po ananake ho, he kiko wailua he muli wai, no Ewa no ua ainaka, aha mau leo, aha mau anaka leo ke kāna, o pānea mai au ane ihila hina, ke e ua ala I loko ke kai, o ke kai pua kai, ula I ke kai o pia e.
Considered as the heartland of Oahu, Kealo Puʻuloa is renowned for its numerous fish ponds, famed oysters, bountiful harbors, and abundant water. From waterways that were guarded by Ka'ahupahau and Kahi'uka, Aina in Waipio, stored by John Papai'i, and fish ponds cultivated by Kalani Manuia and her ohana, Ewa has an enduring connection with Aina. The Ewa Moku's cultural landscape embodied native intelligence and generational well-being, as demonstrated through its complex water and food systems that sustain them. Today, we have an opportunity to revitalize systems that cultivate this wealth. Through valuable work with the community, we see lands ecologically restored and cultural practices revived. We envision ways to integrate these dimensions into the education pathways of our ohana to ensure they develop a sense of kuleana and return to work as servant leaders.
I will say this, cultural competency and an understanding of traditional ecological knowledge are very important in any job that involves biology, whether it's medicine, public health, conservation, education. And so that is something that as you either are generationally born and raised with it, or you develop it here in your time in Hawaii, it's so important because it can help you get a job and make a positive difference wherever you go. And I will say, why are we focusing on Pearl Harbor? Isn't that like a Superfund site? And didn't jet fuel just spill there? And it's the largest mullet fishery on Oahu. This place fed tens of thousands. It's where your drinking water comes from. It's the largest estuary in Hawaii. It's habitat for endangered species found nowhere else in the world. And it's, if we don't restore this place, Oahu is in trouble when it comes to climate change resiliency. Now, the world has a lot to teach us, but Hawaii is a hope spot for the United States in achieving UN sustainability goals. And it is the only hope spot in the United States. So Hawaii has a lot to teach the rest of the world. But there's an urgency to our work, because when you come to the shores of Puʻuloa, you see this sign: don't eat the fish, contaminated, State Department of Health. So I'm not gonna lie, there is a lot of challenges. And there were a lot of people that are like, wait, where's Puʻuloa? What? Oh, Pearl Harbor, I've heard of that. And Ewa Beach, no, Ewa Moku are all the lands that surround this. And there are generations of inequities and environmental injustice issues. So for me, there's an urgency. I couldn't look my students in the eye and say, when they were asking me really good questions about how come it is the way it is, I had to say, there's a way to do, we can do something about it. So one of the things that we're doing, and this is all about biology, is developing best practices. How do you remove mangrove? How do you not create habitat for coconut rhinoceros beetle? How do you understand the soils and the waters? There's even a science to engaging community. How do you deal with policies and red tape that don't help with restoration? How can you engage just citizens in the science that it takes? Because you don't have to be a rocket scientist to count fish and look at waters. So there's a lot of biology questions involved in this. And I want to let you know that we are expanding our projects, and we work over here in Pearl City. We're actually working on a restored holistic green space project right here because we were invited in. And instead of weeds and rubbish on this bikeway, this beautiful leeward bikeway, there's now a demonstration project here that includes community, food, and native plants. And again, we with the Puʻuloa Strategic Partnership, we're even engaging folks all the way up here, the Ko'olau Mountain Watershed Partnership, and folks all the way in town. So our partners are your partners. And I offer you that through Kelly, through me, we can connect you. But we want to empower the next generation of leaders. And UH West Oahu is where a lot of you are sitting right now. Community leaders from around the Moku of many ages, including UH West Oahu, are already playing a key role in Mālama Puʻuloa, including Jesse, who just graduated from UH. He's been with us since the beginning. He works in several locations around the Ewa Moku, including all the way up in the mountains with Mālama Learning Center. He started a club, the Aloha Aina Club, while he was there. And folks in that club have been engaged in food production and restoration in many sites, including ours. And we just hired Stephen. So Stephen was a member of Kelly's class, heard this spiel, and, you know, I think I'm just going to come check you guys out. And he came to a work day. And 1 year later, we just hired him as our restoration field tech. So he is an amazing addition to our group. And he had not lived here long. Kaylee's generational, born and raised, and so is Nick. But look, Nick just fits right in. He's part of the crew. So how can you help? Well, come, Kapapapuhi Point Park, put it in your map app. And I will say Kapapapuhi Point Street, because the map apps, ever since we restored the Hawaiian name, Google gets confused. Join us for a work day, grow a few plants, and I can show you how to do that in about 1 minute. Maybe UH West Oahu could adopt a plot. And I'm throwing that down as a challenge because LCC has. And now you have my email. So if you bust out your phones and you take a picture of this slide, you've got my email. And I don't give out my direct email to all, but if you contact us through the website, I'm the one that answers those emails too. So we need your gifts. If you have a gift for storytelling or videography or photography or poetry or artists or musicians, or help us tell the story. We're busy writing the story, creating the story. We're not that good at telling it. And here's another thing that your phones might help with, or you can take a screenshot. We did have a contest, so the contest is over. But I personally, and I am not a green thumb, I grew 100 flats of a kuli last year, and I just planted them in like free postal medium flat rate boxes. And the amount of native plants we need is overwhelming. The other thing is that we've got a work day coming up this Saturday from 8 to noon, and we'll feed you pizza. You will get muddy, you will get sweaty, but if you don't want to stay the whole 4 hours, we understand. And if you've got a puka or an opening in your schedule, Wednesday Weed Warriors, and yes, we've laughed at the name, but anyway, I digress. You're gonna cut mangrove weeds, and that's how Stephen got hired, is he came for a couple hours when he could on Wednesdays. And last but not least, I want to wrap this up. I want everyone to unmute, please. And I'm going to ask you to repeat 2 words after me, and you're going to make me feel a lot better if I hear you. So I see you, you're unmuting. Trinity, unmute pretty please. Mahalo nui. Would everyone please say Mālama?
Mālama.
That means you care, and you deeply care. And I know many of you do, about this place that we all live. And could everyone please say Puʻuloa?
Puʻuloa.
Puʻuloa.
Everybody say Puʻu. That's a hill. Puʻuloa. So the long hills that surround Keʻawalau o Puʻuloa, the many harbors of Puʻuloa, we are restoring abundance to Pearl Harbor, but instead of saying it that way, we say Mālama Puʻuloa. And if you can remember that name, you now can see us on Instagram. And I have no shame. Follow us, like us, whatever it is you do. You can tell I'm 61. But if you really want to see what people do, like that's what we've done. That's not what we talk about. Share our posts. Some of you are still on Facebook. We're HOH 808 on Facebook, but this is our website. And if you really want to learn more, I want you to put something on your calendar. On October 29th, which is a Saturday coming up, we are going to have our first annual community observance of a legislated event, Mālama Puʻuloa, October 29th at Kapapapuhi Point Park. From 11 to 5, there's going to be food and music and community and fun. And if you go on our website, that's the Mālama Puʻuloa Festival, and it's all, the scoops are already there. So just mahalo, mahalo. And now I want to try one more time. Is there anything that you've learned that you're excited to share? Could you please put that in the chat for me? And that means so much. So I'm going to stop sharing now so that I can see those beautiful chats. And for those of you that never turned on your camera, I would still love to see your faces.
There is a question, if you see it, about plans to work up the streams that are feeding the estuary.
Well, that's the multi-million-dollar grant that I am writing right now. So we are targeting Honouliuli, Waikele, Waiava, and the Kalawao watersheds. There are 11 watersheds that feed into Puʻuloa, and we've targeted 4 because we have friends, we built Pilina, and we've done the work at these sites. So yes, we are also already partnered with Mālama Learning Center and Camp Palehua that are doing forest restoration. And the kids from Pearl City High School were up in the Ko'olaus doing forest restoration. So to answer this question short, which I'm not good at, yes. Yes, there are plans. Other questions? What's something that you will share?
Weed Warrior Wednesday.
Weed Warrior Wednesdays, yes. So guys, again, mahalo to Kelly, mahalo to you. We have a couple more minutes for questions. You have my email if you have questions. People, you know, it's a lot. So if it needs to percolate, make sure that you reach out, make sure that you come visit. You can do it when we're there, or you can just have a peaceful moment and restore your soul by watching sunset right here. Grab some Highway Inn, plate lunch from Waipahu, and come have picnic. Cheap date spot.
Just as another plug for Mālama Puʻuloa, like we were talking about earlier, you do have to do service learning. So you've got to do 2. If you do 3, you get extra credit. Mālama Puʻuloa is a really easy one. It's in your backyard. Well, a lot of people's backyard. I know not all of you. But you get to actually get out there, work. You can bring your family, your friends. Can you bring dogs, Sandy? I was going to ask.
Total dog park.
Okay.
We have had a few mascots. If you're, you know, you're supposed to have it on a leash, but we've had cute little dogs running around, and we just made them into our mascots for the day. And people with littles, if you have littles, they're safe things for kids of all ages.
Cute. Well, me and my puppy will probably be there in November because I have to work this month and next month, but we'll probably be there in November. So you can bring anyone and any dog you like, pretty much. And it's a fun day, especially if you do have kids or if you have other friends that want to go do something and you leave tired and sweaty usually, but you feel really good about yourself. You feel good. You've learned something. You're going to be able to relate it to things that we're learning in class. It's a fun feeling to actually get out there and do something good for your community and something that's going to overall benefit the whole island. It's working towards, and it's really something cool. If you've been out there, I've been going out there. I don't get out very often, unfortunately. I try my best, but even like once a semester or more sometimes. And over the last few years, just seeing the amount of progress that's made, and it's all done pretty much with human hands. Maybe some chainsaws mixed in there, but it's done with people. So it is really cool. Yeah, I see you grew up on a farm, so you like the work. It's fun work. It is hard work, but it's really fun work. And like Sandy was talking about too, the creatives, I know a lot of you are in creative media or education. If you do have sort of that creative mindset, Sandy can use you. And if you're taking pictures, I don't think you can drone out there, but if you're taking pictures or videos or anything like that, that's stuff you can also use in your Kuleana paper later too. If you wanted to go that route instead of writing a paper, if you wanted to do something artistic, you can kind of double up on that. So your talents are needed no matter what they are. And if you can grow kuli, that's even cooler. You can do that at home. I need to do that. I actually have a space now that I can probably help with that. So I need to get some from you.
And I do not have a green thumb. I want to make it clear. This is just a tough little plant. And I have to say, you guys should see her in action. This one jams. So I know she's got cred as a biology teacher, but you should see her do some hana. Wow. She busts tail.
No, I would say the same about Sandy.
I got some COVID kush to burn off. So it's a great way to just lose weight because you just sweat to death and you work hard. But also don't forget, we feed you pizza. Someday we'll feed you fish out of here, but not just yet. They got those signs to deal with.
Yeah. And like Sandy was talking about too, even the community, you're going to see people there that you probably already know, or they know your friend or your family, and you're going to meet completely new people that you're going to end up connecting with later. I've met so many people that I've ended up working with, or I've worked with in the past, or they've worked with people I know, and the networking there is also something that's really valuable. And I think it's kind of overlooked as part of, you know, just your general, you're going for biology credit, but it is a really awesome experience. I can't recommend it enough. The other service learning experiences are also cool, but this is one that really, I think, gives you a great sense of community. So if you're able to, if you can't make Saturdays, the Wednesday Weed Warriors is great. But yeah, if you're able to, definitely go. And I think if no one else has any questions, I'm going to keep you guys on for just another minute, but we can let Sandy go if no one's got questions.
I just want to say mahalo to your professor, because her connecting us all, and mahalo to you for listening. This was it's a long presentation, but I hope that the pictures and the videos helped. Your comments, your questions made it great for me, and to see some of those faces, that means a lot to me. The rest of you, I'll see your faces hopefully in 3D when you come and stand with me and work right here. So until then, Mālama Puʻuloa is on. Take care of yourselves, and a hui ho. Mahalo,
Thank you,
guys.
Sandy. Thank you. I won't keep you guys for long. I just wanted to talk, if anyone has any questions about service learning or anything in class, your exam is coming up next week. I can't remember off the top of my head. I believe it opens Tuesday and it's closing Wednesday night. So you've got one chance at it. You'll have like an hour and a half to take it, but it'll open up Tuesday morning, and then you'll have until Wednesday at 11:55 p.m. to finish it. So you've got time in which to take it, but just keep that on your radar that that's coming. So make sure you're doing all of your Achieve assignments, your class activities. There will be I think it's 5-question quiz on Mālama Puʻuloa, just to make sure. I know you folks are here, and I've got your names down for that. But if you weren't here, or even if you are here, you've got that quiz to do. And it'll just kind of make sure that you guys were paying a little bit of attention and hopefully learned something from this presentation, and hopefully something that you'll be able to use in the future, even if it's not just with Mālama Puʻuloa, if you've worked at Heia or anything like that. The quiz is going to be on Mālama. So it's already, I need to put it up, I think, on one of the sites, but one of you guys, I think on the Monday, Wednesday class, it's already in the learning module. The Tuesday, Thursday, I need to add it right now. So it'll be up within the next half hour. Any questions over anything, exam? M7 assignment and the syllabus, and then Mālama. It might just be mislabeled. If you don't see it due on Achieve, it's not due. So don't worry about it. Any M assignment is a milestone assignment in Achieve, and so I might have just mislabeled it. I don't know off the top of my head, but if you don't see it on Achieve, I'm not adding anything new this unit. I will be going through and putting Achieve due dates down for the rest of the semester this week, so you guys will be able to see everything that's due for the rest of the semester. Anything else? Okay, and for all of you lab folks, remember Friday labs, you guys are online this week and you have a 3-day assignment, so make sure that you start doing that. Monday labs, you're off this week, obviously, and then next Monday, we're going to be meeting in person, okay? And the next Friday, we'll be meeting in person for the Friday labs, because they're running kind of in synchronous. Okay. If that's it, guys, you're welcome to go. You can hang around if you do have any questions, but thank you for coming on, and just let me know if you do have anything that comes up. Bye, guys.